Hi everyone, Angela Evans here. I heard some of you wanted me to record my self-publishing workshop, so here we go. The first question that comes up is why self-publish? So a couple of reasons to self-publish are to share your work with others, you have a story or information you want to share with the world, and to have more control over your project. You've opted to go with self-publishing instead of with a traditional publisher because you have full control over every aspect of your project. I've put together a roadmap to self-publishing, and so the first step is to have your finished draft. The second step, developmental editing, line editing, and beta readers. This applies even if you want to go the traditional publishing route because you're going to have your manuscript as polished as possible. You'll have better chances with a publishing company, and also to have it self-published, you want it as perfect as possible. So developmental editing is also known as structural editing. It's identifying plot holes, irrelevant scenes to be removed, and sections to be rewritten, reordered, or changed. Line editing is editing for word economy, clarity, and usage. For example, that would be grammar and proofreading. It's also important to have beta readers, people who read in the same genre that you're writing in, to give constructive feedback on your story. After getting their reactions, you might need to go back to the editing step, and it's not abnormal to go back several times through this process. Next up is deciding whether to self-publish. Here are some pros and cons. Pros, you have control over your project, the book design, the cover, the release timeline, the pricing, the percent of royalties. You make all the major decisions. Another benefit in self-publishing is it helps to build your portfolio. If you want to go with a traditional publisher in the future with a different book, having a few books completed demonstrates your commitment to your craft. The cons, marketing. You're required to market your own book. However, traditional publishers require you to market your book anyway, since they usually don't have a large marketing department. And if they do, they want to put their money where the least risk is. For example, if you're Stephen King, Suzanne Collins, or another famous author, and you have tried and tested books that are already out, then they would tend to go with one of them because it's less risk, put their money there instead of with a new author. A limitation is that once you've self-published, a publisher won't take your book unless it's selling a lot of copies or it's in a niche genre. Next, deciding on a book format. The first thing is trim sizes. I've put a list here of most common trim sizes for books, depending on the genre. Some other things to consider are the cover. Do you want it hardcover, paperback? And also the cover is for the front and the back of the book with room for the ISBN. Different releases. Do you want an early hardcover release? Cover style. Often a matte style is used for adult books and shiny for children's books. Color or black and white. CMYK for printed, RGB for digital. Also number of pages, the minimum and maximum. Do they have a minimum? File type, make sure you have the PNGs of the cover and avoid using JPEGs or anything that's compressed. The next step is to create your title and your cover. These are two of the most important things when you're marketing on Amazon, to have a good title and a good cover. Take a look at book covers out there that match your genre. Check out a bookstore or check out online what the best sellers are and what their covers look like for your genre. Then you'll be able to decide whether you want to hire an artist to do the cover. Next is to get your government ISBN. In Canada, this is free. This is also an important step because the ISBN that's given for free on Amazon doesn't allow you to use it elsewhere. But if you're going to go on Ingram Spark, for example, which makes it easier to get into Indigo and other bookstores, you'll need an ISBN from the government to do this. You can get a block of ISBNs at the Library and Archives of Canada. When you go to the link, put in the search box ISBN. Then click on Apply for an ISBN account. It may take a couple weeks for your block to arrive, but you'll receive an email alerting you of that. After your ISBN block arrives, go to Manage Your Logbook and Edit Publication. So this is adding a new book. So you choose what kind of product that you're going to put out, whether it's a hardcover book, a paperback, or other. Put in the title, then put in the date and publication status as forthcoming. Click on Submit and you're good to go. After that, go to bookout.com and go to use their barcode generator. That way you can get a graphic that shows the bars on it that matches your ISBN number. Now let's take a look at the numbers and what they actually mean. The numbers on the right underneath the price sign there. So the 5 stands for the US, the US price, and $9.98 stands for $9.98. So in there I've put down 5, which stands for the US, and then 1799, which is $17.99. So it'll come up with the US price of $17.99. You could add in the Canadian price instead using a 6 instead of a 5. So 6 would be the country code for Canada, but I would advise going with the US price and then adding the Canadian price in afterwards. If you don't want a price on it all, just write in 90,000 or leave it blank. You also want to make sure that your email address is in there and click on PNG, not PDF, but you want the PNG barcode. After this, they'll email you right away with the PNG. That's your barcode. Now, I've done a little comparison here. I've taken a screenshot on the left. That is a JPEG. And then on the right is a PNG, which is crisp and clear. So that's the difference between the two. One is very, very clear. The other one, if you stretch it, if you enlarge it, then it goes blurry. I've also added $21.99 Canadian on the bottom there of the ISBN, and I did that with a graphics program. Here I've put the ISBN number on the back of my book. Notice how the cover is laid out with the front and the back, and the front is on the right side and the back is on the left side. Next, you want to make sure that your book is in the internal part of your book is in MS Word, and then you're going to convert it to a PDF by clicking on Export. Notice how the title page is on the left hand, the copyright page is next, and then comes the dedication page. Now, if you don't have a colored book in the inside, just a regular textbook, like using text, then don't do the full color cover inside. Just put the title and the subtitle underneath it in actual text. Mine's just has the cover page on the inside because it's a children's book. Next, we'll go on to the step where we walk through the Amazon KDP site. First part is pretty straightforward. Just click on the yellow Create button. Then click on Paperback. Next, the drop-down menu, click on English or whatever language you're publishing in, the book title, and the subtitle. Here's a screenshot of a description of one of my older books. Next comes the keywords. Now this is a little bit tricky. My keywords before on a similar book that I'd written were a little bit too general. So I've narrowed my keywords down a little bit more, hoping that I'll get more hits with people who are looking for those types of books. Then I narrowed down the category, children's books, growing up and facts of life, down to social life and emotions and feelings. Note here that I don't use the Get a Free KDP ISBN because I'm going to also go with Ingram Spark. I use Add Your Own ISBN. So I enter in the ISBN number that I got from the government, and then I put in the imprint, which would be my own name. Here I've set the amount at $17.99 US. I usually do my royalties between $1 and $4. Here I have more of a royalty so that I can actually lower the price if I want to. And then instead of putting base all marketplaces on this price, I've decided to put in the numbers separately. It automatically will calculate it for you if you click on the base all the marketplaces on this price, but I wanted it more of a number like instead of like 1278, I wanted to make it more of a rounded number like a 1299. Here, the book is now in review, so it can take up to 72 hours for Amazon to approve it. Also, before this step, actually, there is a step that has a preview. So you can preview your book the way that it's uploaded so that you can see it before you approve it. So some things with Amazon KDP, have your book descriptions, your blurbs ready, the ones that are on the back of your book. Your book will be uploaded in PDF form. Your margins and bleed can be tricky because the trim size has to add in the size of the spine of the book. Have your ISBN number ready in printed form. Do not enable expanded distribution if you're going to plan on using Ingram Spark, which is more effective getting you into bookstores such as Indigo. Ordering proofs will send you books with not for resale typed across the cover. And author copies are at a reduced rate, but the shipping can be a little bit expensive because there's no discount on shipping from the US to Canada. But overall, the author copies are much cheaper than buying them at regular price on Amazon, much cheaper. So just a little note about bleed. Usually it needs to be about 3.2 millimeters, but I'll show you at the end some of the copies of my books and the comparison between them on the cover, the dimensions. Next, we go on to Ingram Spark. Now, I didn't have a chance to put my new book on Ingram Spark yet, so I don't have screenshots, a step-by-step walkthrough like I did with Amazon KDP. So I'll just give you a summary like I did with KDP. So the Ingram Spark setup is very similar to the KDP setup, but you cannot use the free KDP ISBN on Ingram Spark. You need to use an ISBN from the government, and I showed you how to get that. You'll need a short blurb, book description, and a long blurb. So long blurb will be the normal size that you would put on the back of your book. The short blurb would be 1 or 2 sentences to summarize your book. The category setup is different than KDP. It also has the drop-down menus, but they are a little bit different than KDP. The spine size and printing is slightly different, plus the ISBN may change price position if you add in the extra price, like I did, the $17.99 for the $21.99, like the Canadian price. It'll bump it up to the top, and I think I can show you that at the end. There are more options for paper quality with Ingram Spark. They've been doing hardcover books for a long period of time and have more options. For example, they do double-sided covers. Click on returnable, rate of 55%, and destroy. Do not request the books returned to you personally or you'll be charged $20 a book for shipping. So I'm going to explain to you what this is about. Returnable means that if a bookstore orders your book to put in their book to see if it'll sell, then it can be returned if it doesn't sell. The rate of 55% is how much they'll pay for the book, which is the lowest amount, and it's better to put your rate at this price so that there's more chance that somebody will purchase it because they make more profit. And destroy. So if you put on returnable, what'll happen is they will send you the book. Like, for example, if the bookstore returns the book to Ingram Spark will send you the book but charge you $20. So that's why you want to put destroy, so that any books that are returned to Ingram Spark, they are just destroyed, and so that you don't get charged. So yeah, just click on destroy instead of returned. For example, if you have a $20 book, it's, it's not worth it. But if you have a $200 book, then it may be worth it. Then calculate the cost involved with the returnable. That they'll ship the book directly to you if it's already made, but returned by the bookstore. Here's an example of some of my books that are in indigo. Notice how I know you can't see the bottom and there's more books down there, but there aren't, like all my books aren't on there. So they selected which books they want to carry in their store. So here's an example of one of my children's books that is normally an 8.5 by 11 book. And I've had to put extra, if you notice, extra around the cover to that cover for the bleed. So for the paperback books, it just means there's no white line that is around the edge. For the hardcover, they use it to wrap around the book, so it'll be a bit bigger. So because the cover has to wrap around and tuck under. If you look at a hardcover book, you'll see how it wraps around to the second page of the book, like the inside of the cover. So the ones on the left, I have a paperback KDP at the top and paperback Ingram Spark at the bottom. Notice how the dimensions are slightly different. The placement of the frames is different. Well, each printer has different requirements, but you can get a sample copy of that shows you, the lines of where your the edge of your book is, where the bleed is, where the title should be, to make sure that it's in the best place. So you can get those from Ingram Spark and from KDP. They will most likely have a little button you click on to get that. The hardcover, notice how it's taller there. So they're taller than the paperbacks. So each one is different. I found that the ones with KDP are width-wise not as large as the Ingram. For example, if you look at the hardcover, the middle of it, there's more of a separation between the frames. That means that the book is actually wider. The actual book is wider. I actually sent the books around the room when we had the in-person workshop, so the people there were able to see the differences between Ingram and KDP. The other thing is that I find that the spines are wider on the KDP than the Ingram. I believe it's due to maybe the paper thickness. So just a few things to keep in mind. The colors, when I sent them around the room, the covers on my novels, they are slightly different. One is a little bit pinkish, the other one is more yellowish. And that depends on the actual printer that's used when they print the book. So there's personal preferences, and if those in the workshop that came personally could see those differences when, to make their decision which one they would order, for example, in bulk, to sell them in person. So that's the end of my workshop for today. If you have any questions, just email me at info@anjulaevans.com. My website is anjulaevans.com. That's ANJULAEVANS. And looking forward to hearing from you. If you can send me a screenshot with the issue that you're struggling with, if you have difficulty with something, then that would be very helpful when you send your email. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.